Good morning. Today we are going to talk about a product which is very popular in Sri Lanka. Okay. Gold pawning is one very popular financial product in Sri Lanka. When you think about other financial products, venture capital, you said it's not a popular financial product in Sri Lanka. Contrast to that, gold pawning is extremely popular in Sri Lanka. Later on, I can show you in slides. There were times, even among leading commercial banks, one third of entire loan portfolio belong to gold pawning. To that extent, it's a popular product. Can someone tell me why gold pawning is so popular? Remember, in our financial world, if a financial product is popular, the lender and the borrower both must be satisfied with the product. When one party is not happy, that product will not become popular. Venture capital is not popular. So one party may not be supporting that. Contrast to that, gold pawning is loved by both the bank and the customer. I'm asking you why. Tell me one reason why gold pawning is so popular. Yeah, think and tell me quickly why pawning is popular. Okay, there are two parties. One is bank. Why bank is interested in pawning? Finance companies are interested in gold pawning. Yeah, you can.
Bank has a security.
Yes, it has a security. Now, if I argue like this, even if you give a housing loan, there is a security. Even if you give a vehicle loan, there is a security. Why the bankers are extremely, one is interest is high. Okay, now you charge a higher interest. I said there are products, yeah, 1 year term, low risk, high interest. Okay, good. Now these are the beneficial sides. What else? There is another very important aspect. What is that? Okay, I hope the screens will not get stuck. I'll share you a video for the first time. Okay, so somewhere in the world, homemade that is Sri Lankan pumpkin curry. So today you find in YouTube, lot of YouTubers try to experiment. Now this one for the European country, Sri Lankan original authentic pumpkin curry, maybe something different. But I'm not going to share the entire recipe with you. I want you to concentrate on first few seconds. So you see a board, pumpkins for sale. Let's move on.
What I love about living in the country is that you get fresh seasonal produce on the side of the road and you can pay via an honesty box.
Yeah, that was a very nice word. Honesty box. Okay, so the buyer came to the farm in front of maybe there were pumpkins and there was a box. On each pumpkin, the price tag is listed. So what you have to do, you pick.
Pumpkins are in season right now, so they're really tasty and really affordable. At $2.50, this one looks pretty good to me.
That's all. There's something very important, something very different. What is that? Can we do this in Sri Lanka? When you travel around Sri Lanka, you will find a lot of sellers with their farm products. By the wayside, they are waiting until you come to sell their products. Here, there was no seller. Honesty box. And on each product, the price is given. What she did, she picked a pumpkin, $250, put that in the box and left. No CCTV cameras. Okay. no one is there, and honesty was there. Okay. Can you see this kind of things in Sri Lanka? Say yes or no in chat box. Never. Okay, good. Okay. Right. Now, why can't you do that in Sri Lanka? Why can't you do that in Sri Lanka? Yeah. In the chat box, tell me an answer. I showed you a very simple thing, honesty box. The farmer need not to take his time to sell. He need not to have another middleman as long as honesty box is there. And I'm asking you, can you practice that in Sri Lanka? You said never. Then I'm asking you why. Yeah, it is not possible. I'm asking you why. People are not trustworthy. Okay. Trust issues. Okay, good. Thank you. Now, why can't we trust each other? If we can trust each other, then we can have honesty boxes. Okay, right. Now I'm asking you again, you saw something very different, and I'm asking you to rethink why gold pawning is popular. I'm asking from bank side. There were certain reasons you cited, all were correct, but I'm asking you the real reason. Now I showed you a simple video clip. I'm asking you why pawning is so popular. Tell me why pawning is different from any other lending. Simple as that. Coming there. Lemma. Okay. Yeah. Tell me a reason. Easy access and fast. Still, I am lacking that. Okay. Let me see your answers. Gold price increase every day. Let's see. Is it true? Easy access and fast. Yes, that is there. But I'm asking you one very important reason. Okay. Now, you just showed no need to submit documents and convenient procedure. Very good. Okay. All these are correct. All these are correct. I showed your video clip with a reason. And you said it's difficult in Sri Lanka. I'm asking you why. Then you said trust issues. Okay. Whom do you trust? Right. Now I'm asking you why under all these lending products, gold is preferred. Therefore, we have to look at and control that. To that extent, it's popular among banks. So there were certain restrictions put, okay, out of the portfolio ceiling, you can't go beyond this for gold pawning. If not, everyone will be into pawning. Why? You said it's easy access and fast. Very good. It's fast. Why it is fast? When you want to take a leasing facility, maybe 1 day, 2 days. Okay. When it comes to a housing project, maybe 1 month. Why it's so delayed and why gold is so fast? Tell me, think and tell me the reason. Very good. Even customer default bank has the gold. Very good. Right. That's the security side. Okay. We'll talk a little bit. Gold, when you are lending out anything else, you ask a lot of documents. That's why it's easy for gold. Okay. Now I'm asking you why. Why? Valuation is done by bank. Okay. You are coming closer to the answer. Very good. Valuation is done by the bank. Right. Let me ask you like this. You get valuation for the vehicle. You get valuation for the land. You get valuation for yeah, BOQ for the project report, housing loan, right? What do you first evaluate? In any other product, okay, right? Tell me. Okay, you are evaluating value, correct? For gold pawning, it's very easy to evaluate the value, and the valuation is done at the bank itself, correct? I'm asking you something very simple. You all are answering in a very good manner and very close. Okay, let me ask like this. When someone comes to your bank to get a pawning, do you ask his pay slips? Say yes or no. No. When a customer come to take any other loan, say he want to take leasing for the three-wheeler, he want to take leasing for the Montero, he want to take lease housing loan, he want to take a project loan, so and so. Are you asking his salary slips, pay slips? Okay, right. Now my question is very simple. Yes, you're asking pay slips. Whenever you are lending out any other product, only for this product you are not asking salary particulars. Why? Why? Yeah, for all the other products, you look at repayment capacity. Okay. For this product, very good. You have gold security. You have gold security. Now, when you are lending any other product, what do you first evaluate? Customer or the asset? When you are lending any other product, what do you first evaluate? Customer, customer. Okay. For gold product, do you evaluate the customer or do you evaluate the product? Do you evaluate the customer? Product. Okay, good. You evaluate the product. Very good. Now I'm asking you the next question. What is easy to evaluate? Customer or the product? Okay. 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 Now all your answers are in line with that. What is that? When I'm lending out gold, I evaluate what? I evaluate only gold product. Very good. Only that product. When I'm giving away loan to any other product, what I'm first evaluating? I'm first evaluating customer. Right. Next question. What is difficult to evaluate? Customer or product? Okay. Whether you take valuation from outside or within the company, what is difficult to evaluate is not the product, but the customer. Okay. Therefore, gold has become very popular financial instrument. When I show like this, can you see the slides? I think yes. Can you see the slides? Okay, right, thank you. We'll move ahead. Pawnbroker, we buy gold. In most of the European countries, in front of pawning shops, you see this symbol. Okay. This symbol represents a very wealthy family of Europe lived few centuries ago, say 1600, 1700. This family was the richest and the wealthiest family. And the name of the family is Medici. Have you heard this name earlier? Medici family. Say yes or no. Have you heard Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Galileo Galilei? Yes, right. And they lived in an era known as Renaissance, where after Dark Ages, all of a sudden, the Europe became a knowledge hub. Science started to invent new things. New theories came, and we call that Renaissance after Dark Ages. There were people who were full-time looking at sky, like Galileo Galilei. Their full-time job was thinking and experimenting. There were people who never sold their arts, but continued painting, like Leonardo da Vinci, like Michelangelo, and the whole list goes on. Superset of artistic people, great mathematicians, great scientists, and all of them were sponsored by one family known as Medici. Medicis were known as bankers of Florence. In real, what they did was pawning. So their business was pawning. Right. They were not initially extremely rich family. They were not the noblemen. They were commons. They were belonging to the common people. But the father Medici, he traveled on a donkey, not on a horseback. Means what? They were commoners. They were not noblemen. But he was a very sharp, careful selector of pawning articles. And he developed his business like a modern bank. He found a different person, a well-educated, doctorate-holding sea pirate. Okay, so in movies you have seen sea pirates, how they are presented. They are ugly-looking people with worn-out teeth, blackened lips, blackened teeth. Okay, so that's how sea pirates are portrayed in movies. But in real, there were some well-educated sea pirates, and this person was one. He always came to Medicis to sell or pawn their wealthy art. This Medici came up with such a plan, and he became extremely wealthy person, and he passed his knowledge and know-how to his next generation, and the generations continued about 600 years, and they were almost the most powerful, influential, wealthiest family. So I'm leaving you to find more about Medicis. Right. So you can see banking with pawning can amaze a lot of wealth. At the beginning, you said gold price is always going up. Is it? Now I'm showing you from 1971 how the gold behaved. This one, 1980. What has happened? What do you call it? By now we have a word. What is that? I'm showing you the picture, and there's a very sudden upward growth, skyrocketing. What next? Quick downward trend. This kind of situations are, yes, it's a bull market. Initially, it's a bull market. Then it moves the maximum, then comes down. What do you call this?
Bubble.
Bubble. Very good. So gold can also be subject to bubbles. There are valid reasons. Remember this. Still, people believe gold as safe haven. When share markets crash, when property market crash, people believe the only asset that you can rely upon is gold. So whenever you see problems coming on, people quickly sell their assets and move into gold. But let me tell you a story now. Maybe you have heard it earlier. There was a comedian, Nasuddin. A neighbor of Nasuddin was very rich. He had a lot of camels, assets, so many farming lands, and he has to work hard. One day he decided, instead of working hard and looking after all my businesses, feeding all these animals, camels, horses, donkeys, right? And looking into selling milk, meat, having this much of acreage. I want to get out of this. He sold everything. Out of his wealth, he got only one thing, a gold brick. He got, after selling all this, his wealth was simplified as a brick-sized gold. And now he is living in a hut next to Nasruddin's house. What he did is, he dig a hole on ground, put this gold brick, covered it with soil, and each morning, before anyone gets up, he goes to this place, removes soil a little bit, touch the brick, and happy, my assets are secured. And after sometimes, one day, the neighbor started crying. Nasruddin rushed and asked, why, my friend, what has happened? He said, this is what I did. I sold everything and converted my assets into a gold brick. Yesterday, someone has stolen it. Today, when I removed the soil in the same place I found, it's no more. Nasruddin said, okay, don't worry. Don't cry. Next morning, when you get up, go and see the same place. So the neighbor was very happy. Very next day, he went to the same place. He removed soil, touched, but he found, yeah, there is a brick, but the surface is not smooth. So he took it out. It's a clay brick. He went to Nasruddin and said, look here, what I lost is a gold brick. What you have replaced that with? A clay brick. Nasruddin said, when you had gold brick, what you did? Get up early in the morning before anyone else, went to that place, removed soil, touched it, and you were happy, and you came back. Act like the same. When you had gold, you did nothing. When you have clay, do nothing. Be happy with what you have. Okay. So even now, that is happening. When people are not happy with their assets, the only happiness is I have wealth, and that is in gold. Whenever there are issues, financial crisis, COVID-19, pandemic, anything, people need a safe haven. Still, gold is the safe haven. Now you can see in 1980, there was a bubble. I'm showing you another one, January 11. You don't see the next slide yet. But what would have happened? Definitely, a bubble is creating. Definitely, the bubble must have been burst. Now I'm showing you another one. 2011, another bubble. Well, naturally, bubble burst, comes down. 2020, what is happening? COVID-19, a pandemic, global pandemic. Now all the neighbors of Nasruddin sell their assets and convert all what they have into gold. Okay. Now let's see what is happening now. Yeah, after 2021, the gold price went up to the maximum and collapsed. But pandemic is continuing. As long as pandemic is there, you will once again move into gold. So this is how gold is moving. Okay. So it creates bubbles. I can't say the gold price is always going up, but at times it goes up. At times it goes up in such accelerated speed, and you know the bubble is being created. Very naturally, all bubbles burst. But based on the ground situation, recreation of bubble can take place, like what is happening now. Okay, now let's look at the slides. So gold is subject to bubbles. We can't say gold price is always going up. Right. Now I'm asking you another question. This trend, accepting gold as a safe haven, was there from the non-history. Okay. Have you seen a Hindi movie, Mohenjo-daro? Say yes or no. There was a Hindi movie, Mohenjo-daro. Can someone tell me yes or no? Anyone? That's a very nice movie. And that was a 3D movie in film halls. Okay. So the movie starts with a nice statement. 6,000 years before Lord Buddha. And this much of years before each, right? They showed Mohenjo-daro. Means what? Even 6,000 years before Lord Buddha. Means so early. That is the earliest civilization era. People were so much greedy about gold. People like today believe gold as safe haven. Sometimes they want to change the path of a river and dig gold in the riverbed. To that extent, it was important. Even so old, so even in the earliest civilizations, that greediness for gold is still there. Why? Now my question is, why gold is so much in demand? Why gold is so expensive? Why gold is so expensive? Why do people still believe it's a safe haven? Hard to find. Very good. It's a rare commodity. Now, when we listen to Sri Lankan folk stories, we always come with, okay, the king was so happy and he gifted XYZ with Ran Riddhi Muthu Menik. Okay. Gold comes first. Ran Riddhi. Pearl and gems. What happened to pearl? Sri Lanka was extremely popular for pearl. And pearl was a precious item those days. What happened to pearl? Why it is no more in demand? Pearl was initially a natural product. Later on, the Japanese started creating pearl in pearl farms. Not a difficult exercise anymore. They created farms where from these shells, they can take pearls in an easy manner. So they started pearl farming. Then pearl became more common. The Chinese started creating artificial pearls. Now the problem is gold. Can you create it artificially? There was a time, another commodity popular in Sri Lanka, rubber. Rubber became known as white gold. Means what? So rare, so expensive. Rubber became white gold. But very soon, artificial rubber was created. So white gold is no more hard product. So you can increase the size of white gold. Right. Why can't you artificially create gold? Okay, so far, the technology science has failed to create artificial gold. As long as it is not there, gold price always become a safe haven. Okay. How do you find gold? Okay. Now, gold demand. Somewhere in 2012, when there was another issue in gold, still it's valid. Gold. Gold is demanded 43% for jewelry, 35% for investment, 10% for technology, 12 central banks. Okay. So central banks find gold as a reserve. So they can keep their wealth in gold reserves. 2012, there were financial issues in certain European countries known as PIGS, PIGS, basically Portugal, Ireland, Greece, Spain. These countries found financial issues. So what they did is they released gold reserves in their central banks. And the gold had a quick hit in the world market. Okay, so these are the people who demand gold, 43% as jewelries. Okay, Still, gold is a commodity money. What is commodity money? Something used for some purpose, and while doing that, you can convert it easily as money. So you can use it as a jewelry, a necklace, or a chain, or a ring. And when you are in cash hurry, you can hand over it to a pawnbroker, maybe a bank or a finance company or an individual party, take away money. So it's like you're wearing money as a jewelry. Investment. Okay, we have seen gold is a safe haven. It has been going up. Price has been going up. For a country like us, even dollars is like an investment, but dollar is meant for exchanging. Same way, gold is a superb investment. The only issue with gold is it is not giving you dividends. It is not ensuring you any cash flow, but asset appreciation, capital appreciation is there. So it has become a tool selected by investors. A few weeks ago, we talked about portfolio management, and you can manage your portfolio with liquid asset like a little bit of cash in your hand, shares, then you can have fixed deposits, properties, real estates. Then you can have commodities like gold. Gold is also considered as an investment. Technology, like for printing, or maybe those who want to make certain products out of gold, technology, then reserves. But still, there are only two sources of gold. Even now, I have heard a lot of people talk about recycling polythene, but the product which is mostly recycled in the world is gold. 37% of the gold supply is coming from recycling. The existing format of gold is changed to another format, but gold is there. Gold is the highest recycled product in the world. Then 1/3 of the gold supply is coming out of using the existing. Why? It is so rare. The balance is by digging, by mining. Okay, I said there are people who think gold as an investment. This is Warren Buffett. Let's see what he wants to say about investing in gold. But I would say one thing. Warren Buffett never invested in gold. Okay, so gold is something you will take out of earth and put it into another safety locker and guard it, and it has no utility. So when Warren Buffett buys shares of Coca-Cola, he knows that's a product people consume. Okay, so gold, no usage, but you believe it's an asset. So he thinks anyone from outside the world, any alien, would be find out, oh my God, what is happening? Why do people need gold? But gold is an asset. Now you said gold is a very rare commodity. Yes, agreed. So this is what? The world, entire gold found in the world, if you can melt and make a cube out of it, the size of the cube is just 68 feet to one side. Okay. So this is the entire world gold. Okay. Not a huge amount. 60, nearly 20 meters to one side. That's all. Means what? Gold is such a rare commodity. Right. Now let's ask a few questions. Why do customers prefer gold pawning? I said pawning is popular because both parties love this product, bank and the customer. First, we'll see from the customer's point of view. Now you know a little bit about gold. Why do customers love gold? Why do customers love gold pawning? When they are in a hurry, now they can come to the bank and hand over gold and take money. And you said the banks charge very high interest for gold pawning, but still customers love it. Yeah, why do customers prefer gold? Easy method to make cash, okay. Tell me, let's say this appears in your exam. Okay. No evaluation of what? Yeah. Okay. So what are the benefits or the why it is so popular from the customer's point of view? Number one, less documentation. Why? Customer is not evaluated. Why do you want all these documentations? What do you mean by documents? Your salary slips. Okay. Then documents to prove the asset belongs to you. Nothing is asked. So number one, less documentation. Number two, okay, when any other loan fails to settle within 3 months, what happened? Even for the credit card, if you can't pay after 3 months, after 6 months, what happened? Now we are in arrears. What happened? People are very much afraid to that. What is
NPA.
that? Yeah, that's from the bank side. But I'm asking from the customer. When customer is in default, what happened to him? That's something customer is afraid of.
Crib.
Crib.
Getting into crib.
Getting into crib. Very good. Now, gold pawning. Customer fails to pay. Is his name appearing on crib? No. No. Right. Now, one reason is less documentation. Number two, his name will not appear in crib. Means what? He can take any other loan facility in future. Right. So that's another reason. What else? Speed. What is meant by speed? Any other loan, you may evaluate the time in days, weeks, or months. Housing loan, it will take months. Leasing, days. This loan, what is the time duration? Is it in days, weeks, months, or on the spot? Very good. On the spot. So speed is there. What else? On the spot. You get on the spot cash. What else? What are the other benefits? Yeah, for repayment, you get 12 months. Right. Now, when you take any other loan, you get rentals, monthly rentals decided by the bank. For gold pawning, how do you pay? How do you pay? Are you paying in specific monthly rentals or how? I'm referring pawning. Your convenience. Okay. So this is why gold pawning is popular. Now, from the bank's point of view, why do banks love this product? Why banks prefer gold pawn? No risk. What do you mean by no risk? Correct. Risk is less. Risk is extremely less. Yeah, you can charge a higher interest rate. Easy and convenient product. Okay, so specify, easy to evaluate, easy to, yeah, customer evaluation is not required. Even after giving the loan, asset is in your custody. Then the world demand trend is mostly on upward. I can't say always it's upward. There are bubble bursting. Other than that, yes, it's always going on. Cross-selling opportunity. Okay. So you can sell on the product to the same existing customer. Comparative, low credit risk. Very good. Comparatively. Very good. Okay. So this is the only product. You can keep it in your locker and give away money. Housing loan. House is not within the bank premises. Okay. Vehicle leasing. Vehicle is always moving out. Sometimes it's very difficult to trace it. And sometimes the person may sell it to a spare parts shop, right, to dismantle and sell as spares. But here, the asset is in your custody. So all these are beneficial for the bank. So gold loan is beneficial to the bank as well as to the customer. Year 2011. Let's go back and see what is 2011. That is 2011. What are we seeing? A bubble is being created. Okay, so from maybe 2007 onwards, a bubble is being created. When this bubble is being created, this was our gold exposure. Out of the total advances, People's Bank, almost 1/3 belong to gold. Bank of Ceylon, 1/5. Commercial Bank was managed in a different manner. They were not into gold pawning much. Okay, Sampath Bank, almost 1/4 belong to gold. Pan Asia Bank, almost 1/5. Okay. Right. So that means when a bubble is being shaping up, we were highly exposed to gold. Vehicle market today, what do you see? Is vehicle prices going up in a fast, accelerated speed? Yes. Yes. Are you sensing a bubble? Okay. Right. Why don't you see a bubble? Correct. You don't sense a bubble, correct. But why? Anything where price is going up at an accelerated speed will soon burst. But you may justify, no, now we are reaching a high plateau. This price will remain forever, or this price will remain until next bubble is going up. Vehicle price won't decrease. Okay. Tell me reasons. Okay. Now you say vehicle price won't decrease. Is it a global trend or a local trend? I'm asking you. Yeah, this is a local trend. Okay. Right. Why there is a local trend like this? Why there is a trend like this? Dollar issues, forex issues. Okay. Important ban since March 2020. Restrictions, yeah. Due to high demand and import issues, very good. Okay. Now I'm asking you something out of all what you have answered. If this import restrictions removed, what will happen? If this import restrictions removed, what will happen? Yeah, now that's a good answer. Trade deficit. Import restrictions, if you remove that, there will be a trade deficit. Okay. We are living in a connected world. We are not living anymore like Robinson Crusoe. When a country is not allowing free trade, the international trade-related institutes like GATT or UNO, certain arms, they intervene. IMF, they intervene. Now, if Sri Lanka goes to IMF and asks for the bailout package, they may come up with a lot of conditions. Okay, you cannot be an isolated country. That's one side. Suppose we neglect that and move further with Chinese collaboration and start up tourism. If COVID-19 vapors out into thin air, what will happen? Then once again tourists will come back. Port City and others will become places where, okay, is the price of gold like to fall in near future? We don't see such signals until this COVID-19 issue is sorted out. Sri Lanka, the vehicle price is the same answer I can give you. Now, for an example, Sri Lankan forex crisis is due to less inflow of US dollars of forex. Why? Number one, foreign remittances. Most of Sri Lankans worked in Middle East countries, say Dubai. Dubai is also a tourist hub, and they got affected. Many countries where they worked, some came back to Sri Lanka. They are in financial issues. Therefore, foreign remittances is not reliable much during a pandemic situation. When countries are locked down again and again, when the income level is low, you find it difficult to send money back to your mother country. Number two, Sri Lanka is heavily depending upon tourism with the recent projects. I'm not saying that was there forever, but think about all these recent developments. Think about the highways you have, or you can say expressways constructed to Hambantota. And when you moved out to Hambantota, you see a lot of tourist-related activities, maybe safaris, maybe airports, right? They are like ghost houses now. But they were all aiming at tourism. Mattal, I can remember, they had certain targets with uncharted plane movements and directly moving into certain hotels. Okay. Now nothing is happening. As long as that, we will have this forex issue, and the country may either have to go to IMF and those who are responsible officers to the economy. They say we are not interested in IMF. Okay, fine. That's one way. Then you have to look into other ways. Anyway, until COVID situation continues, the world gold price will remain as a safe haven. And though we are in a bubble, remember, we are in a bubble. Vehicle prices, yes, we are on a bubble. But as long as you mentioned, forex issue is there. Means what? As long as COVID is there, we may see this issue continue. Okay. When you are lending out, you have to be very careful, because we are lending on a situation where bubbles seen. Another. In Sri Lanka, what do we dispense out of these machines, ATMs? Money. But in certain Middle East countries like Abu Dhabi, they have gold ATMs. It was initially only at Abu Dhabi. Later on, it went to some other countries as well. You can dispense gold, maybe certain gold selected items. You put money and comes out gold. Right. Now we know that gold is a very popular financial product in Sri Lanka, and it's very easy as long as that's there. Banks and finance companies are extremely happy, but the central bank is a little bit worried because quality of money supply, the quantity and the quality of money supply is determined by central bank. The quantity of money supply, okay, from time to time, what is the amount of money they print and how much they will allow in the market to circulate. So that is the quantity. Quality is where this money is moving. So banks give this money as loans. That's where the money is flowing. Okay, now when money is flowing out, they look at restrictions. Gold loans, gold pawning, are they on investment or on consumption? Gold pawning, is it a consumption loan or a non-consumption loan? Why do people mortgage pawn their gold articles and take loans? Is it for long-term investments or near consumptions? As you experience it, why
Consumption.
consumption. That's a consumption loan. Okay. So when commercial banks give away 1/3 of their loans as consumption loans, it's not healthy. So central banks put portfolio ceilings on, okay, this is the maximum amount of gold loans, gold pawning that you can make. Then that moves out to finance companies and NBFI sector. So pawning is a very popular product in NBFI sector. Now we looked at Pawnbrokers Ordinance. That is the legal enactment looking after gold-related activities. Pawnbrokers Ordinance. I said gold is very old product. From the known history, people were greedy with gold. Ordinance, what do you mean? What is the difference between an ordinance and act? I think you know that. Act and an ordinance. What is the difference? Yeah. Company Act. Very good. I get the answer. Ordinance is before independence. Means what? After obtaining independence in Sri Lanka, our legal enactments were created at our legislature, that is our parliament. Okay. So anything passed in the parliament is an act. Anything before we obtaining independence that was imposed upon us are ordinances. So gold pawning is governed by an ordinance. Means what? That was few years ahead of obtaining independence. You have to remember this act. For your exam purpose, remember this act. Number 13 of 1942. Pawnbrokers Ordinance. Number 13 of 1942. Okay. Now, before moving ahead, few announcements. Number one, those who have not applied or sent your applications for your exam, please submit them before 15th of this month. And we may have certain classes in the evening, so that will be informed earlier. Are you okay between 7 to 9 weekdays? Let's say next week I will not be able to conduct classes, so I have to have an additional one. So I prefer that on a weekday, 7 to 9. Are you okay with that? Say yes or no. Okay, right. Thank you. Now, okay, thanks. Okay. So that will be informed you earlier. Now, laws. Even though Pawnbrokers Ordinance was originated in 1942, there were amendments later on. Okay. Now let's look at this ordinance and what are the salient features. So there were amendments. So it was number 13, 1942. Pawnbrokers Ordinance, number 13, 1942. There were amendments. And now this is how it reads, like, on or after the first day of January 1964, no person shall carry on the business of a pawnbroker if such person is not an individual of Sri Lanka. Okay. It's a foreign company or a foreign firm. Okay. So they cannot run pawning business. So you must be individual citizen of Sri Lanka, foreign company or the foreign firm. Okay. Now the holder of license shall not transfer the business to which license relate to any other person without the prior approval in writing of the government agent. Okay. Now another exam-oriented question again. What is the institute? Yeah, 7 to 9. Excluding Friday. Okay, right. Agreed. 7 to 9 excluding Friday. I'll agree. Right. Now I'm asking you. What is the licensing authority for gold pawning? What is the licensing authority for gold pawning? Now, if you want to start up a commercial bank, who gives you the license? You want to start up a commercial bank, who gives you the license? CBSL, correct. Correct. You want to start up a pawn brokering hut. You want to start up pawn brokers business. Who will issue the license?
Gem and Jewelry Authority.
No. My dear, remember there was a MCQ. What is the licensing authority for gold pawning? Number 1, Gem and Jewelry Authority. Number 2, Central Bank. Number 3, number 4. Okay. So Gem and Jewelry Authority is not the licensing agent for gold pawning. Okay. Now read this part very carefully and tell me who is he. I hope you read it. Do you need more time? The holder of a license issued under Section 3 shall not transfer the business to which such a license relates to any other person without the prior approval in writing of the government agent, and a transfer of such business without such prior approval shall be for all purpose null and void. Okay. Now, who is the agent? Who is the... Okay, I see answers. Central Bank, no. Central Bank is not giving you the license for gold pawning. Right? Monetary Board is not. Monetary Board is part of CBSL. No, no. CBSL, no.
AG.
What is that?
AG.
AG. Government Agent. GA. In Sinhala, Disapati. Government Agent. But today the same person is known as another name. What is that? The answer is Government Agent. Yes. But today...
Divisional Secretariat.
Exactly. Divisional Secretariat. DS. Okay. Now, what is the answer? Divisional Secretariat. What is the licensing authority for gold pawning? Number 1, Gem and Jewelry Authority. Number 2, Central Bank. Number 3, Inland Revenue. Number 4, Divisional Secretariat. What is the answer? Number 4. Okay. So that is a question often repeated in past papers. Right. Today you call DS, Divisional Secretariat. So when you asked the licensing authority for gold pawning, your answer is Divisional Secretariat. No person shall be entitled to a license for carrying on the business of a pawnbroker unless he produces to the government agent satisfactory evidence of good character. I have earlier said character matters. That was when we were evaluating credit. The same here, character matters. Something difficult to evaluate, but, and when we were discussing about Campari, I said character matters. And I quoted this example. JP Morgan, when he was asked in a court, you bankers give away loans to anyone who is having money. He said, no, sir, character matters. The first thing is character. Before money or anything else, money cannot buy it, because a man I do not trust could not get money from me on all the bonds in Christendom. Okay. Now, at the very beginning, I showed you a video clip. What is that? Trust. And you said, that's something difficult to find. Okay. So character matters. Okay, now we are looking at license. Now, who is giving the license? Divisional Secretariat. Hereafter, whenever I ask, what is the licensing authority? Who gives the license? For gold pawning, your answer is one, simple, unanimous one, Divisional Secretariat. Okay, can you refuse the license? Yes, when you apply for a license, you can be refused. At any time during the 5 years immediately preceding the date on which he makes his application for such license, he has been found guilty of any act rendered punishable under the penal code or under the provision of this ordinance. Means what? Character matters. Your license can be refused too, though you apply. In the opinion of the government agent, the shop or place in which that person intends to carry on the business of pawnbroker or any adjacent house or place possessed by him is frequented by thieves or persons of bad character, or is used for sale of intoxicating liquor, opium, or the preparation of hemp plant known as hashish or ganja. Okay, now that's our ordinance. Means what? The government agent will look into the place as well. Okay, so in a very recent Tamil movie I've seen, there's a pawnbroker. He takes your articles and hand over money, and immediately when you go out of the pawning premises, he takes a call and pass the message. So very soon, someone will come in a motorbike and pick the money you have pawned out. Okay, so that cannot happen. So when you think about the place where pawning takes place, as per the ordinance, it cannot be in the vicinity. It cannot be a place frequented by thieves. So you have the liberty to reject license based on the vicinity, based on the neighbor. No license for carrying on the business of a pawnbroker shall be issued to any person who is an auctioneer. Okay, so you cannot be auctioneer and a pawn. Okay. Your income is based on pawning. You are not interested in selling the pawned articles out. Your business is accepting articles, keeping in your custody, and ensure that you collect the interest, and later on, only if the customer fails to pay, go for auctioning. If you are the same person who is accepting articles and auctioning, you have an interest of auctioning the articles you accepted. No license for carrying on the business of a pawnbroker shall be issued to any person unless he furnishes security in cash in the prescribed amount. No pawnbroker shall take any article or pawn before 8 a.m. or after 8 p.m. on any day. So the time duration is given. No pawnbroker shall act as or carry on the business of an auctioneer. Okay, so one minute. Is it the same for bank to obtain license from DS? Example, opening a new branch. No. When you open a new branch, my dear, you have to get CBSL approval. Only for pawn brokering. I'm not referring gold loans. I'm referring pawn brokering. For that, you have to get the license from Divisional Secretariat. Okay. Whenever you are starting either for the bank or the finance company, before you start a branch, you have to get central bank approval. DS has nothing to do that. Okay. Only for pawn brokering, not even for gold loans. So today you have another similar product, gold loans, which is a loan. I'm referring pawning here. For pawning, you need not to be a bank. You have seen a lot of individuals, Sev Gunasekara, then Dadigama. Many individuals are into pawn brokering business, plus banks and finance companies. Pawning is different, loans different. Okay. Then we are getting back to our area. So there are many areas covered under ordinance. Divisional sector, when you get application, you will look into these factors. and issue the license. Now, once you have started up the business, every pawnbroker shall, number one, always keep exhibited in large characters over the outer door of his shop or place of business his name with the word pawnbroker in Sinhala, Tamil, and English. So you can see many NBFIs, sometimes even individuals, do this pawnbrokering business. And in 3 languages, it's a must to have the name displayed outside the business premises. Out of the doorstep of his shop or place business, the pawnbroker. Always keep exhibited in conspicuous part of his shop. So it's not a hidden part. We have seen certain advertisements appear in newspapers in small font. So whether you see it or not, I don't mind. That is not the case. Here, conspicuous part or place of business so as to be clearly visible to and legible by every person resorting there to notice, containing in Sinhala, Tamil, and English, in particular set out in the 3rd schedule. So this is how the ordinance comes. Everything is defined. How you place your name board, that is defined as well. Okay. No articles shall be deemed to be taken in pawn unless and until the pawner has signed the counterfoil of the pawn ticket. Okay. The pawnbroker has signed the foil of the pawn ticket and has given the foil to the pawner. And the pawner has received and accepted the foil of the pawn ticket from the pawnbroker. Okay. So the normal operations are defined. The pawn ticket, foil. What do you mean by article here? The jewelry. The jewelry shall not be deemed to be taken into pawn unless and until. So until you complete these sets, we cannot say you have pawned your articles. So what are they? Counterfoil signed by the pawner. Pawnbroker has signed the foil. The pawner has received an accepted foil of pawn ticket from the pawnbroker. Now, pawner is the person who hand over the articles or the jewelries. Pawnbroker is the person who is accepting the temporary custodian. When you are accepting the temporary custodian, you hand over a ticket. And the ticket comes in a counterfoil as well, like a checkbook. So there must be signatures on each. Every pledge shall be redeemable. Now, that is the article you have pawned out. Shall be redeemable. The moment you hand over the pawnbroker the article, you can redeem that article accepted by the pawnbroker should be redeemed as long as you are ready to pay back. But there is one condition. Within a period of 12 months. Okay. So you are given 1 year, complete 1 year freedom. That is the period of redemption. From the day of pawning, exclusive of that day. Not inclusive means what? I hand over my gold articles today to the pawnbroker and I am given 1 year to settle and take them back. But I cannot settle them today itself. Today at 8 o'clock, I went and handed over my gold articles and by 12 o'clock, I want them back. That's not included. Today is excluded. Other than that, tomorrow I can. From tomorrow onwards until 1 year, within 1 year, I can redeem whatever that I have given. So that freedom is there. Okay. Gold loan, when you give a loan, do you have repayment plan in rentals? Yes. When you pawn it, do you have a repayment plan? No. The plan is with the person who took the loan. So you can settle in as he wish. And there's a duration. 1 year. When you take a loan, you have to honor rentals. Okay. So pawnbrokers pawn it. They don't give loans. Today, banks and finance companies have come up with a product. You accept the security, gold, put them in your locker, and you ask the customer to pay back in monthly rentals, and you call it a loan. And that is not governed under pawnbrokers ordinance. Pawnbrokers ordinance only govern pawning, not the loans. Okay, right. Every pledge is redeemable. Okay, whatever you hand over, you can take them back within a period of 1 year. We are referring pawning, right? Here we are referring only pawning, no any other term like loans. Okay. Any person claim to be the owner of a pledge, but not holding a foil. Okay. Now I come to the gold pawning place and say, I handed over my jewelry last week and I want to settle today. So very naturally, the pawnbroker asked me, where's your ticket? Now I would say, I don't have that. So I don't have the pledge. I don't have the foil, but not holding foil of the pawn ticket. Or any person claim to be entitled to hold the foil of the pawn ticket by alleging that the foil of such ticket has been lost, stolen, misled, destroyed, or fraudulently obtained from him, may deliver to the pawnbroker a declaration in the form F. Right. So there's a schedule attached to this ordinance. Form F, duly made before Justice of Peace. So you go to JP, sign, I lost my gold foil, and I declare that with honest intention, and shall thereupon as between himself and the pawnbroker all the same rights and remedies as if he produced the foil of the pawn ticket. Okay? So we believe JP's, the signature of JP is trustworthy. That's why you have to sometimes go to the JP and get your signature true copied. Okay, right. So I definitely, when I go to redeem my gold articles, I must go back with my foil, the ticket, but it's not there. Lost, stolen. Okay. So that's another nice thing happened among us Sri Lankans. We are such organized. These days, I randomly hear such complaints. Some people say, okay, I got the first jab of AstraZeneca, but I don't have the card. Okay. So you cannot prove that on this particular day, I had got the first jab. Okay. And at the same time, our systems are so poor of keeping data. Right? All of a sudden, 2 million, 3 million, lot of maybe Sinopharm or AstraZeneca, maybe Pfizer comes, and you are given a card. But I wonder whether we have centralized database. If you have centralized database, even if you don't have card, you can check your NIC and see the day where you were given the first jab. But we are not so systemized. When you go to these places, they don't come even with a laptop. Just everything is physically written. Right? On such, we are still heavily depending on physical things, papers. And there is a possibility of missing the papers. When you miss the papers, still the act has a remedy. Go to a JP, get it signed by him. So we believe JP is a person who lives in your neighborhood and knows your character best. Okay. So one extreme problem we face as human beings is, can I trust this unknown person? I don't know your character, but someone in your neighborhood knows your character. Let that person recommend you. Means what? Definitely, the system does not believe that anyone can go to JP and hand over a few bucks to him and get a character certificate. That's not the intention. Okay? So the systems are good, but if we cannot trust each other, then anyone can give money and get JP signature. So we can't help that. Okay. So the issue is, when you want to redeem, you must go with the ticket. Where the file of a pawn ticket is surrendered to the pawnbroker for the purpose of redeeming a pledge, the pawnbroker shall retain in his possession the foil and counterfoil of the pawn ticket for the period of 12 months, reckoned from the date of the redemption of the pledge. Okay. You can redeem within 1 year. Whatever the day that you redeem your gold articles, the pawnbroker has to keep the same documents for another year. So within this year, if there are any issues, legal issues coming, still you must be able to prove, I handed over all these articles given to him. Okay. Right. So whenever you are preparing a legal enactment, you look at all these practical aspects. What are the practical aspects? What will happen if someone miss his documents? What will happen if someone forcibly take them out? What will happen, maybe act of God like flood has removed your documents? Then are we going to say, since you can't come up with your documents, you cannot redeem? Now, if that happens, if a natural disaster like flood takes away all your files, then you will not be able to get hold of your gold assets. So there are rules and exemptions. Okay, the rule is, whenever you redeem gold articles, you must come up with your foil. Exemptions. On such, when you can't, this is the mechanism. So that's how these legal enactments are created. Okay? So these legal enactments are created at Parliament. This is why you have to send the right type of people to the legislature in Sri Lanka, that is known as Parliament. In some other countries, maybe Senate, House of Commons, House of Commoners, okay, different names. But send the right people who can look into these aspects and agree upon. Okay? Very naturally, you must be able to redeem within 1 year. When you redeem, definitely there must be articles, documents. When the document is missing, still you have a way. Liability of pawnbroker in case of fire. Okay. Most of the gold articles have a sentimental value. I got this article on my birthday. I got this jewelry when I was getting married. I got this from my father when I'm 21 years old. So you have sentimental value. So people in Sri Lanka and in Asian countries like India, Bangladesh, people don't want to part with their gold articles. At the same time, they have the practice of keeping them in a bank or the finance or the pawnbroker in place when they are in financial difficulty. Irrespective of the world market price of gold, they will settle them. Why? There is a sentimental value. Now, there are times when gold price goes down. Okay. Sometimes the bubble bursts and the gold price goes even beyond what it should be. But even then, people don't forget the gold articles at pawnbrokers. It's very profitable for them to forget the articles at the pawnbroker's place and repurchase them in the market. But they don't do it. So this is one nice reason for gold pawning becoming popular. Even the commodity price comes down, people don't consider gold as a commodity. They feel gold as an emotional attachment. I can't lose at any cost, underline the word at any cost, what my husband has given, what my father has given, what my mother has given. Okay, so they have a sentimental attachment to it. Therefore, you have to protect the articles under your custody. Liability of pawnbroker in case of fire. Where the pledge is destroyed or damaged by or in consequence of fire, the pawnbroker shall nevertheless be liable on demand within the period of redemption to pay the value of the pledge after deducting the amount of the loan and interest and business turnover tax, if any, payable in respect of such loan. Okay. At least you have to pay, the value of the pledge. But that's not what people expect. So you have to be very careful. You are accepting an emotionally attached product. Every pawnbroker shall have his business insured in the full extent of the value of the articles pawned with him. Okay, so we talked about insurance, fire, burglary, theft. So you have an insurance product under general insurance. Every pawnbroker should insure his business. There is no exemptions. This is something definitely you have to do. Pledges sold at auction. Every pledge which is not redeemed within the period of redemption may be disposed of by sale by public auction, but shall not be disposed otherwise. The only mechanism is public auction. And the regulations in the fourth schedule shall be observed with the reference. Right. So every activity is given a schedule. This is how you do it. This is how you auction the products. Where a pledge is to be sold by public auction under the preceding provisions of this section, the pawnbroker with whom such pledge has been pawned shall give at least 14 days notice in writing to the divisional secretariat of the date and time fixed for such sale and the place at which such sale is to be held. So you have to inform that to the person who gave you the license to run this pawnbroker business. Okay. So you measure the density of your gold. You are not evaluating the character. So you have density meters. Notice of sale. The pawnbroker shall give to every pawnbroker whose pledge is to be sold under this ordinance at least 14 days notice. Okay, so before conducting the auction, you have to give 14 days notice to the person who could not redeem. Means what? We are trying our best for you to ensure that you have even the last chance to redeem the articles which you have such an emotional attachment. Okay. So gold pawning is profitable business because people don't want to part with their emotionally attached items, articles. Okay. And theoretically, when the market price goes down, if people have got it at a very higher price, they can easily forget it and repurchase a whole lot below the market price. That is applicable to any other commodity. Let me tell you a very simple example. Pepper, say gambiris. Pepper is a commodity which is cultivated in Sri Lanka, and the price goes up and down. One farmer went to a pepper wholesale buyer and said, here, my product is high quality, and per kilo, I expect 300 rupees. Then the wholesaler buyer said, I'm ready to pay you only 200 rupees per kilo. And if someone is buying at 300 rupees per kilo, I'm ready to sell my whole lot. Then the farmer said, okay, fine. I'll buy your whole lot. I'm not joking, at 300 rupees. Then the seller said, okay, fine. I'm ready. And they closed the deal. The seller who wanted to sell his product at 300 rupees ended up buying all the quantity with the wholesaler at 300 rupees. After 2 weeks, the pepper price went to 600 rupees. Okay. The farmer sent his son to this wholesale buyer, and the buyer at that time was ready to purchase at 500 rupees. What he sold 2 weeks ago at 300 rupees. Farmer's son sold. When farmer's son reached the house, the farmer called the wholesale buyer and said, "It's your stock you purchased." So any other commodity, you don't have emotional attachments. Remember, there are so many commodities in the world where the price is fluctuating. Some are agricultural products like maize, cocoa, tea, pepper, wheat, maize, anything. Then there are other commodities like metals. So you have London Metal Exchange, where these products are exchanged. So you have gold, silver, bronze, aluminium, all these products. There was a guy who used to purchase aluminium stocks, and he became a monopoly and started controlling aluminium price. And that was really affecting even to Coke, any company that wanted to look into aluminium. There was a guy who was known as Chocolate Fingers. He was buying cocoa, the world cocoa, and almost like a monopoly. Right? So no one is attached to these products, the commodities they are dealing with. But for gold, another positive factor from the banks or the financiers side is this emotional attachment. Even when the gold price goes down, people want to redeem at higher prices. Okay, at any time within 2 years from the date on which pledge is sold under this ordinance, the holder of the pawn ticket may inspect the entry of the sale in the pawnbroker's book and in the filed up catalog of the auction authenticated by the signature of the auctioneer or either of them. The pawnbroker shall permit the holder of the pawn ticket to inspect the entry of the sale in such book and catalog in either of them. Okay, means what? Anytime within 2 years where the pledge is sold as per this ordinance, the initial person, the person who owned the articles and pawned it, can access to the documents. Okay. So this act is protecting the customer to such an extent. Now, what are the offenses? Okay. So there are punishable offenses under this act. Offenses: offers to a pawnbroker an article by way of pawn, but refuses or is unable to give a satisfactory account of the means by which he became possessed of it. Okay. Now we have seen a lot of gold snatchers. They take the chains and rush to pawning houses, but that's offense. You must be able to give a satisfactory account how I possess this gold. If not, that is offense. Willfully gives false information to a pawnbroker as to whether an article offered by him in pawn to the pawnbroker is his own property or not, or as to his name and address, or as to the name and address of the owner of the article. Okay, who is the owner? Am I misleading? If I am misleading, okay, if I pawn out some articles which do not belong to me, that's an offense. Attempt or endeavors to redeem a pledge, not being a person entitled to redeem such a pledge. Okay, I go to the pawnbroker knowing someone else's article is there and say I'm the owner and I lost my ticket and come up with JP's signed document. That's a punishable offense. Okay, I'm attempting to redeem a pledge that is not belonging to me. So we have been using and hearing so many terms. What is a pledge here? What comes to your mind when I say pledge? What is a pledge? With this one. Attempt or endeavors to redeem a pledge, not being possession entitled to redeem such a pledge. What is a pledge here? Yeah.
Stock article.
Article, yes. Article under article which is pawned. That's a pledge. Article which is pawned. That is a pledge. Okay. So I'm attempting to redeem article which is not belonging to me. That is punishable offense. Without lawful excuse, pawns with a pawn broker or anything being the property of another person. Okay. So I don't have lawful ownership. Makes a declaration under this ordinance either for himself or as identify another, knowing such declaration to be false in any material particular. Okay. I make myself known as some other person. That's punishable. Contravenes any provision of this ordinance or fails to do anything which he is required to do by the ordinance shall be guilty of an offense. Okay. So these were the offenses that can be done by the person who want to pawn the articles. Now the offenses by the pawn broker. So both can be making offenses. Takes an article in pawn from any person appearing to be under the age of 16 years or to be intoxicated. Age matters. Okay. Now earlier, character matters. Now age matters. Now we have seen a lot of age-related issues discussed last few weeks and last few months. Okay. As per this act, you cannot accept any article from a person appeared to be below age 16. Means what? We believe in Sri Lanka, a person who is below the age of 16 as a minor, not as an adult, a minor who cannot take decisions on his own will. So if you accept any article from a person appearing to be under the age of 16 or intoxicated, at the same time, we believe a person who is under the influence of liquor is a person who cannot take a decision on his own will. Okay. So if I accept as a pawnbroker any article from these people who cannot independently think, that's offense. Takes an article in pawn without giving the pawner the foil of the pawn ticket. Okay, when I'm taking the article, I have to give him the pawn ticket, foil of the pawn ticket to him. Okay. So when I take gold articles, articles are with him in my custody. But the person who took the money by placing these gold articles with me must have a proof to say he handed over the gold. To that, I must hand over him a paper, which is known as pawn ticket. If not, that's a punishable offense. Purchase or takes in pawn or exchange the foil of a pawn ticket issued by another pawnbroker. I can only accept gold articles. If someone comes to me and say, look here, I pawned my articles at Sev Gunasekara 6 months ago. Now the gold price has gone up. You keep this ticket and give me money for that. When you go to Sev Gunasekara, you can redeem. I'll sign and you can take the money. No, you can't do that. Being a pawnbroker, I can only accept jewelries, gold articles, nothing else. So that is clearly mentioned in that. If not, I get into a punishable offense. Next, employs any servant apparently under the age of 21 years to take articles in pawn. Okay. So that's another punishable offense. I must recruit a person who is about 21 years old. Purchase except at a sale by public auction under this ordinance any pledge while in pawn with him. Suffers any pledge while in pawn with him to be redeemed with a view to his purchasing it. Okay. These two, E and F. I am into gold business. I know in and out of it. I know the market trends, right? So when I have a pledge with me, I think it's better to sell now because tomorrow the market is going to burst. Market is going to collapse. Therefore, I prefer to sell it now and make a huge cash out of it. No, I can't do that. Though the asset is in my custody, I'm not the owner of it. Okay? So I have to honor the contract between myself and the person who has given me these articles. When you are interested in auctioning, you are not independent. Because as auctioneer, your income is based on what you sell. When you are the pawnbroker, your income is the interest out of the loan you given, not the capital gain taken by the auctioneer. So if I become both the auctioneer and the pawnbroker, I get interest plus capital gains. That cannot happen. Okay. But when I sell it out through auctioning, yes, I may redeem my amount plus a profit. But that's not my intention. Okay. Next, agrees with any person pawning or offering to pawn any article to purchase, sell, or dispose of such article within the period of redemption. Sells or otherwise dispose of any pledge pawned with him, except at such time in such a manner as authorized. The ordinance as authorized only mechanism is auctioning, and the mechanism is given 14 days notice, sent to government agent, today you call them divisional secretaries, and to the customer. No other mechanism. Makes any false entry in any book required to be kept by him under this ordinance, or fails to make therein or any entry which is required to make by this ordinance, so seizes or detains any person under the provision of section 20 or section 33 without reasonable or probable cause. Suppose someone is not paying you, you can't have a private jail. You can't do that. You can't detain any person. Right? Your business is only articles. If you have any issue, go to courts. Go to nearest police station. No other mechanism. No wild laws. Fails to have his business insured to the full extent of the value of all articles pawned with him. You must insure to the extent of values under your custody. Contravenes any provision of this ordinance or fail to do anything which is required to do this business shall be guilty of an offense. Okay. Right. So that's on gold pawning. Now, there were pledges articles which are pawned. Right. Now, there were very few questions arising from this area, but still you must be able to answer. Right. So, under MCQs, the question number 1 consists of few MCQs, 5 MCQs, and one popular question is, can a specialized leasing company accept deposits? Yes or no? You know that. Something based out of that. Another popular question is, what is the licensing authority for pawn brokering? Now you know that. Okay. Another popular question under MCQ is, what are the funding sources of venture capital? Okay, you know that. Then under pawning, what are the offenses? Then the terms, articles, pledge, foil. Then what are the offenses by the customer and by the pawnbroker? So these areas you should know. Right. In general, I'm asking you a question. Venture capital is not popular. Pawn brokering is popular. Okay. Why? Now you know that. Venture capital is not popular because we don't have a well-developed capital market. Well-developed capital market means within the country we are developing our own investment, long-term related money. Pawning is popular, credit cards are popular means what? We know how to consume, right? From government to individuals, we know how to consume. So the consumption loans are very popular. That's what is meant by popularity of pawning. Okay. Right. Now, we have seen bubbles. Bubbles can take place in any place. It can take place in commodity market or in financial markets. You know two types of assets by now: financial assets and real assets. Financial assets are intangible and basically papers. Real assets are assets which are tangible. So gold is a commodity, a real asset. Stocks is not a commodity. Now you know that even in stock market or in commodity market, there can be bubbles. There can be sudden upward trend in price of commodity or any product without good reasons to assign. The good reason is demand for consumption, demand for the product. But when you don't have good reasons to assign, means what? There are speculators. What do you mean by speculating? Making profit takers. So there are people who don't want to use it, but want to buy now, sell next. So that can apply to Forex as well. I have seen some of the government ministers says, okay, the dollar is going up because of speculators, profit takers. Partly correct. Okay. The dollar is going up on real reasons, but when you see something moves up, people come just to buy it and sell it next. And they want to do it again and again, means what? They are artificially creating a bubble. The vehicle market. These days, there are buyers who sometimes buy on cash basis and sell next. They don't want to use the vehicle. They want to sell it, buy, sell, and repeatedly doing that, they are artificially creating the price up. Right? Then in one of our valuers meeting, one valuer said, these days, prices of vehicles which are not commonly used in Sri Lanka are artificially inflated. Then I asked him, how do they do it? He said, okay, let's assume in a specific model you have only 6 vehicles. And out of that, very clearly, the majority don't want to sell. So you put an advertisement in hit ad saying XYZ model manufactured here this year. And you put the picture and say, asking price 40 million. Right? Or asking price, let's say 10 million. When the market value, then the cost they purchase the vehicle is 5 million, they put 10 million. Then next week, another model of the same car, you put at 12 million. Next week, you put that particular model 13 million. Now the person who is interested, he goes through this product, he goes through previous hit advertisements and call the seller. And now he know 10 million is the cheapest. He call and ask, okay, then the buyer would say, the seller would say, okay, I have the vehicle, but someone has given me deposit. If you are really interested and he is going for the leasing, it will take about 1 week. And if you are really interested, I'm interested in selling it at cash. Then I have to pay back the deposit. He has given me 100,000 just. Then the buyer rushes and buy at cash somehow at an exorbitant price. So there are a lot of manipulators in any given market. They want to increase the price up, especially when there are economical issues. Commodity. Okay, now look at what is happening. Share price is going up. Okay, on Thursday, all of a sudden there was a crash. Why? All of a sudden, 84 deaths due to COVID. Everyone is alarmed. And a set of investors, we would call them manipulators, they manipulated the news. The market was upward trend, but they created a sudden shock and everyone is in selling mode. That was Thursday. 100 odd units came down. Next day, yesterday, Friday, 80 units went up. Right? So that is what manipulators are doing. They are artificially creating price up and down. In Sri Lanka, we don't have such situation in gold because the gold price is mostly dependent on the world gold price. In the world, there are gold price manipulators. I said there was a guy who manipulated cocoa price known as chocolate fingers. He is nicknamed as chocolate fingers. Okay. So prices, either gold, shares, vehicles, can be manipulated. But manipulators cannot do on their own without ground support. Now the ground is supporting. In Sri Lanka, the government find the issue with forex. I would say whoever in power in Sri Lanka would find that issue. Why? We are unnecessarily heavily depending on foreign remittances and tourism. From the non-history, we have failed to identify ourselves as a manufacturing country that is selling something, a manufactured product out. No, the only thing we sell out is our labor, unskilled labor. Okay. The other thing we sell out is the beauty of Sri Lanka, the paradise, as you call them, tourism. These are the only two mechanisms we have forex. Due to COVID, both got affected. Now you have a situation where the ground is healthy for manipulators. Government, in order to tackle this situation, they have come up with a solution, that is restricting foreign imports as much as possible. Everything is restricted, from milk food to gases to floor tiles, then vehicles, spare parts, everything is restricted importing. Now what has happened? From one side, local manufacturers are thriving. That's a good thing. Very recently, I show an advertisement. A Sri Lankan tile manufacturer, a new one, has emerged in southern part of Sri Lanka. Okay. There's a market for Sri Lankan manufactured tiles. And the already established tile manufacturers like Lanka Wall Tile, Rosel, they are making huge profits and giving superb dividends plus bonuses. That's good side. The bad side, whatever the existing stock is sold at unnecessarily high priced values, say vehicles. Now imports are no more, so the existing market is going up. If that is really happening between a buyer and a seller, that's fine. But what is happening is seller to a manipulator, and the manipulator increase the price, sell to another manipulator, and the price is skyrocketing. Okay. On such, we the financiers have to be extremely careful. From one side, it's our business, giving away loans. Are we sensing a bubble? Yes. Will this bubble burst tomorrow? No. This will be a prolonged bubble. Right? How long? Until we see the end of the tunnel of this forex issue. What is? Okay. So this is why government is trying to attract tourists even from Russia, though it's extremely dangerous, because we want to see the end of the tunnel. And we want to see more investors coming to Port City. At the moment, we know, once again, the second, third, fourth, fifth waves are hitting entire world, and Sri Lanka is hit bad, extremely bad. Countries which were well managed like Thailand, Vietnam, are also in this basket, like us, suffering again. Now we have an issue, okay, we don't see within the next 1 to 3 months, there won't be tourists bubbling up in Sri Lanka. We won't be able to see a huge foreign remittances coming. We won't be able to see immediate upward trend in FDIs. If Port City was so good, and if we could see so many FDIs coming in, we need not to worry about dollar. That is not the situation at the moment. Now we are carefully evaluating the situation. Okay, right. On such, people believe in a safe haven, gold, throughout the world. So the gold price is catching up again. Okay. Now you can see when the world sense COVID is no more, the waves are ending, everyone is getting injected in the developed nations, trend was coming down. But all of a sudden we see, are we really safe with these vaccines? Once again, uncertainty comes down. At the same time, the ratios, the fluctuating ratios are high. 2.2% per day going down means what? When the fluctuations are so high, then what will happen? Manipulators try to get an advantage. Okay. Now think about gold price performance. 1 year, 11% down. 20 years, 500% up. 5 years, 35% up. Okay. But at the moment, we see an effort to look into direction. Now, if the world goes back to normal as it was, there will be downward trend in gold, a downward trend in Sri Lankan vehicle price. Okay, but as long as that is to be there, we are playing not on 100% predictable market. So we are playing in a calculated risk market. Yes, in the near future, we can see upward trends. Then about interest. As long as market interest rate is kept down, stock market will be up and active. Then we have to think about what comes next. Forex is another market where two currencies movement is monitored. You take only two currencies where their exchange rates are matched. And even based on that, people make money. So you call them Forex traders. Some are manipulators. Right. Now, let me ask you some questions. First, very simple ones. Okay. What are the two types of insurance? Send me your answer in chat box. Two types of insurance. What is the other one? Right. Good. Life general. Right. Then, what are the funding sources of a licensed specialized leasing company? Specialized leasing company. What are the funding sources? Specialized leasing company. What are the funding sources? Promissory notes, commercial papers, share warrants, okay. Loans from other banks, retained earnings, okay. Right. Corporate debentures, very good. Yeah, dividends if you have invested in somewhere else. Okay, right. Then bank borrowings, correct. Now, from today's session, what is the licensing authority for pawn brokering? What is the licensing authority for pawn brokering? Divisional Secretariat. Okay, so exactly. Please answer in the correct format at the exam, Divisional Secretariat. Okay. Then name three parties who will fund venture capital. Name three parties who will fund venture capital projects. Angel investor is one party. We discussed these things last week. Family members, okay. Insurance companies, yes, insurance companies. Then Then one more party. We talked about Richard Branson. Richard Branson we talked about. Crowdfunding is not a venture capital one. Venture capital companies, large venture capital companies, then you can say as an example, Virgin Venture Capital by Richard Branson. So that's a company, not an individual. Okay. Now, what is the difference between crowdfunding and venture capital? Yes. Crowdfunding and venture capital. Last week we discussed crowdfunding. Funding source consists of large number of individuals, where in venture capital, angel investor, yeah, asking money from people. Yes. Right. Then we talked about the difference between, yeah, very good. The difference between bank lending and venture capital. The bank lending and venture capital. What are the differences? Yeah. Payable, whether you make profit or not. Last week we discussed. That's it. Low interest, high interest, get involving in management. Can someone tell me the difference between debt and equity? Debt versus equity. I'm happy at the moment. I'm happy with the way you're answering. Very good. Debt versus equity. No maturity date. That is for equity. Correct. Debt, there's a maturity. For equity, no guaranteed repayment. For debt, guaranteed repayments. Okay, so with that, I'll end today's session. And before 15th, you have to apply for your exams. Yeah. And next week, most probably you will not have classes. Please check it earlier. Sometimes you may have classes on Saturday. Within weekdays, if you have classes, other than Friday, as you said, other than Friday, I'm okay with any other day, as you are aware of that. We'll inform that in advance. Okay, thank you.